Office, Word, Excel, public
Outlook.
And depending on which version, if you're in a corporate environment, Office is Access, database, and all kinds of other stuff, right? So my gut tells me that most people have no clue how to do some fancy stuff in Excel or have even done a PowerPoint presentation before, right? But they have Office. Right? The same thing happens with Command. So Command is going to allow us to keep up with our database of people, create people, keep up with contacts, and all that sort of thing. Command is also going to allow us to do mass emails, both manually, meaning I want to send out an email tomorrow morning, and also automatically, so that every 2 weeks it sends out information that you, as the agent, can sit down and say, hey, I got this idea that I'd love to send people any new listings in their neighborhood automatically. Command can do that, right? You don't have to think about it 2 weeks from now, or 4 weeks from now, or 6 weeks from now. Does that make sense? That's part of Command, right? Command also is a tool that once you start working a deal, and a deal, we're going to talk about this in a second, what's called a life cycle. Well, at some point during the life cycle of a deal, you're going to say, this thing's going to happen. This is a real for live deal. Now today, when you say this is a real for live deal, you start filling out a green sheet, right? And you have to go through, all right, what do you do with that field? And you ask Stacy 400 questions about that. One of the things that Command allows us to do is as this deal progresses and the more stuff you start putting in, the green sheet's going to get filled out. For the most part, it'll automatically, I won't say automatically, but a lot of the information that you had to manually fill out on a green sheet, it's already going to be in here. And we'll talk about how we actually do that also. So again, Command is a bunch of stuff in little modules. And part of training will be talking to you, training you on mouth-sized digestible modules. Make sense? Mm-hmm. And I am some kind of dancing right now.
Yeah. No, go ahead. When we turn off streaming, it takes several minutes for it to process to YouTube and then be in a position to stream again. We're now in that position.
Okay.
I have no idea if it's working, but at least I know that cycle is finished.
Okay, good.
Sorry, I'm changed.
Perfect.
You want to click?
Yeah, just click it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so the fan base at home can now see that this is the information that we collected from most of you. All right. How many years you've been selling or supporting? So this is not just for agents, for assistants also, and teams. So Command is going to be able to support teams of people, so more than just a one-off agent. Okay. As you can see, the vast majority of people have been here for a short period of time. Okay. Now, how long have you been at Keller Williams? The vast majority of people have been here less than 5 or 6 years. That's probably not unusual. All right. How many transactions? So one of the things that we're going to talk about in Command is how do we handle all these transactions? There are people that will do 2 or 3 or 4 transactions a year. There are people that do 40 or 50 transactions a year. Can Command support everybody? All right. And that's one of the reasons that I asked this question. So the vast majority of people do less than 10 transactions a year. All right. How many total transactions have you closed in your career? Now the reason that I ask this is because a lot of people are familiar with .loop and they have kept all of their deals in .loop. And one of the questions that has come out is, well, once we go to DocuSign, am I going to lose everything in .loop? The answer is no. But one of the things that you want to know is, well, how do I get my stuff out of .loop and into Command or DocuSign? And we'll talk about that also. I'm not going to show you how to do that today, but I did a video, and I can send the link out, and it says this is what you do to get your stuff out of .loop into Command. Okay? And you can watch the video 400 times if you like. which email client do you use? So the vast majority of people use the KW email, all right? What you may not know is Keller Williams uses Google as its mail provider. So technically, you're using Gmail, okay? How many of you do email blast on a regular basis? About 30% of the people that we survey do email blast on a regular basis. Irrespective of how many emails are in their blast, they do an email blast, okay? It gives you an idea of what people are using. E-Edge, Constant Contact, MailChimp, and regular old Gmail, all right? Let me go off in the weeds for just a second. If you're using Gmail to do email blast, be careful. Don't use Gmail to send out 100 or 200 or 300 at a time. Because if people start flagging your stuff as spam, then you have hosed yourself, and the email gods of the world will say, you're a bad person. None of your emails ever get delivered, or if they do, they all go to spam. That's one of the benefits of using an email provider like Constant Contact or MailChimp. Okay? So if you're going to be serious about the email business, use an email provider. Don't do it on your own account, because if you get flagged, you're dead in the water.
Would you know it if you got flagged?
It's hard to say. What'll happen, let's put it this way. When you get emails, a lot of your emails show up in the promotions folder. All right? Those haven't necessarily, they got flagged as promotion because Gmail's pretty smart. But you also have a folder in Gmail called spam. Those got flagged. And they're emails that you get from people today, maybe other real estate agents, and every single one of the emails that you get from them, you find in your spam folder. You don't want to be there, okay? So, although email's a pretty cool tool, you can shoot your foot off if you're not careful. What current CRM? If you're using a CRM, what are you using? The vast majority of people use E-Edge or Top Producer, okay? Nothing wrong with that. No wrong, right, wrong, or indifferent. You don't have to use command. Everybody uses pretty much .loop to get their GAR forms. A handful of people use RDocs, okay? This is just for my information. This is nothing that's relevant unless you guys are just curious about it, okay? This is the data that I'm receiving. This is going to help me when I teach you. All right, an e-signature system. The vast majority of people use .loop. Some people use RDocs and eSign, and a handful of people already use DocuSign. Okay? What it basically means is there's not a right or wrong way to do this. There are a whole bunch of tools that'll do exactly the same thing. Where do you store your documents? The vast majority of people store their documents today on .loop. At least they're storing them. Even if you don't store your documents in .loop, store them somewhere. Okay? In any system that you use, on almost any system, you can, when you complete a deal, you can save it as a PDF. What I tell people is, you know those thumb drives that you plug into the side of your computer? You know how much those things cost? $2. $2. So you can go out there and you do a deal, and if you look at all the pages from the listing agreement all the way to the closing document and a scanned copy of your check, you could have 200 pages, 300 pages, okay? All you got to do is save that document, put it on a $2 thumb drive, and put it in the file folder that you keep in your file cabinet, right? Because one day, your hard drive on your computer is going to crash. Given. End of discussion. Make a backup copy of your stuff, and never assume that the system that you're using today will be the system that you'll use forever. Okay? All right, so that's the survey. Let's get back over here.
That survey, is it just this class, or just is that
We
The
sent
class you've done before, the classes that
this,
you're going to do.
you are the guinea pigs. You are the very first command class.
So,
You're the first person to sit in that chair in this command class.
ooh, I can
So we all win it together, we walk away with like a gift today?
Well,
Like
it
something
had you
special?
pass the pop quiz. Yes.
Yes.
But because every one of you failed the pop quiz, no. You got to stay here.
But my question remains unanswered. There were
Okay.
like 30, 40 people, and I don't see 30 or 40 people in this class.
Well, you know what? You've put together events at school or wherever before, right? And if 100 people say I'm coming, how many people come?
60.
At max.
Probably 20 to 35 if you're lucky.
Okay, so if 40 people showed up, we got 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got about 25, 30, almost 50%.
But
Okay.
those numbers that I saw,
They filled out the form. They didn't necessarily come to class. So we're also teaching the same class tomorrow. Okay. All right, let's talk about leads and contacts. The difference between a lead and a contact. Anybody want to jump on that one? It's not a trick question. It's a question we could talk about. If we had enough beer, we could talk all day about this.
I think a lead can become a contact.
Okay. All right. What about this? A lead is a one-way communication. Okay. What about you don't know the guy from Moses? That's a lead. Right? However, a contact is a two-way communication. All right? Let's kind of talk about he or she raised their hand and accepted your communication. Okay? A lead you don't know from Adam or Moses. But a contact you do know somehow. They may not be your brother-in-law, but you've got some kind of two-way communication going on. All right? For example, a cold call, a broadcast email, a Facebook ad to cold traffic. All right? If let's say that you sent out a broadcast email and it says, "Hey, I'm the greatest real estate agent there's ever lived. I'd love to do business with you." And they reply to that email and say, "Hey, that's pretty cool. I'm thinking about selling my house." It's a contact, right? Because now you got two-way communication going on. All right? So, what's what and which one is which? You found a business card laying on the ground. Is that a lead or a contact?
Lead.
Okay, why?
You don't. It's
One-way
You pick
communication.
it. They didn't give it to you.
All right.
They handed you a business card. It'd be a contact.
All right. What about someone gave you their neighborhood directory? Now you got 200 people.
Lead.
Okay. What about you saw somebody's email address on a website, so you copied it down?
Lead.
Someone responded to my email to that neighborhood directory. Remember I got the neighborhood directory and I sent an email out? Somebody responded.
Contact.
All right. Good. What about your college roommate?
Contact.
What about your wife's best friend?
Contact.
Could be, maybe not. All right. All right. So that's why I want to say within command, when you create an entry or person in command, you can either flag them as a lead or you can flag them as a contact. And one of the things that happens in any database, irrespective of the industry, is your database gets dirty. And if somebody were to give you that neighborhood directory, let's say that they gave you the neighborhood directory on a disk, so you didn't have to type anything in. And you say, "Oh man, that's 300 people." And you immediately run it into your database in command. All right? They're really not contacts, are they? They're leads. So you want to work a lead until it becomes a contact. Because it gives you, you're managing your own business, it gives you a better idea of how much real meat you got on the bone. All right? All right, what's an opportunity? Well, an opportunity can be defined any way you want to define it. How about a deal? Is a deal an opportunity?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. In the corporate world, a lot of these sales companies call them opportunities. All right. Your sales pipeline is made up of a bunch of opportunities. You can define an opportunity any way you want to, and at any time during the life cycle. If you think of the life cycle of a person, of a kid, all right, where does it start? At birth, right? Well, let me flip on this so that we can kind of get over here for these people. Hopefully they can see it. Life cycle, if you're born right here and you die right here, then all kinds of things happen in here, right? We've got adolescence. Is adolescence and puberty at the same time? I don't know. I'm making this stuff up as I go. All right. And then, you got your teenage years, then you get married, and then you die. All right.
That's so depressing. Well, I'm on death now. I'll see you. I'm leaving.
Well,
I'm never dying.
The slope of this, you're in control of the slope. Okay? You're not in control of the outcome, but you are in control of the slope. All right?
We're done.
Well, the same thing happens with an opportunity. Okay? So an opportunity starts as a lead. You don't know them from Adam or Moses, right? Then they become a contact. And then after you've had contact back and forth for some period of time, you say, you know what, there's a deal here. There's an opportunity to do a transaction. So there is no definition that says if the person contacts you 7 times, then you create an opportunity. You create an opportunity when you think there's going to be a deal. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. I got to flip the screen over here back to my... All right, can a listing be an opportunity? Absolutely. A listing can be an opportunity. Can a buyer search be an opportunity?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Can a lead be an opportunity?
That's one way.
Bingo.
Can be.
Tech, you can call it anything you want to because you're in control of your own business. You can call a lead an opportunity if you want to. In my opinion, you'd be fooling yourself. Right? So I would not call a lead an opportunity. Sam told me he'd like to sell his house in the spring of 2022. Is this an opportunity?
Yeah. If you tag it that way.
Absolutely, it could be an opportunity. The life cycle on that opportunity is going to look like this graph over here. It's going to be way, who knows how long it's going to be, but it absolutely could be an opportunity. Right? By definition, Command, the software platform that we're talking about, segments opportunities into 3 buckets. So inside the software, and this is not a test or anything like this, just play with me here. Today, Command says that there are really 3 buckets of opportunities if you're a real estate agent at Keller Williams. One bucket is a listing opportunity. You want to sell somebody's house. Another bucket is a buyer's opportunity. Somebody wants to buy a house. And the other bucket is leases. Someone wants to lease a house. Now, one of the things that's not in here today is what do we do about the commercial real estate guys? They're not defined, right? So at some point, or raw land, or things like that. So Command is going to be a system that is dynamic and can change. So today, when we use Command and we look at opportunities, there are only 3 types of opportunities. Tomorrow, there may be 4, there may be 5, who knows? But there are certain rules within Command that we all have to agree upon, and today we're going to agree that there are only 3 types of opportunities: a listing, a buyer, or a lease. Now, what's a CRM? Anybody want to take a swipe at that one?
Customer relationship management.
Okay. Customer Relationship manager. Relationship is the key. All right, so the customer relationship manager means that you can manage these relationships that you have with individual people in whatever life cycle they happen to be in at any time. All right, if you're in, for instance, in venture capital, the way the venture capital guys go is they say we're going to have what they call a cohort, and we're going to start on Monday, September the 1st. And everybody that's in the class is going to go through that cohort. And everybody progresses at the same period of time. And everybody graduates on the same day. That's not what happens in the CRM. Because you're dynamically adding people and deleting people all the time. You're just managing the relationship. All right? Examples. You've heard of Salesforce. Anybody ever used Salesforce before? It's a beast. Okay? It does a lot of stuff, but it's a beast. You've heard of Top Producer? Okay, some of you may have used Top Producer. It's a customer relationship manager. E-Edge, a lot of people. Remember the chart we looked at a while ago? A lot of people use E-Edge. Referral Maker is another one. Lion Desk is another one. Wise Desk, Moontown. There are 9 bazillion CRM systems out there. They're everywhere. Go out on the street corner and say CRM and people, they just mob you, right? Command is also a CRM. We're going to manage the relationship with all your contacts in this platform. Okay? Document management system. Now, kind of from a 50,000 foot view, what's the difference between a document management system and a customer relationship management system?
You can't put documents in a CRM, but you can put contacts in a DMS.
That's kind of close. On some of these CRMs, I mean, you buy my CRM, you can do anything to everybody forever, right? You can bring in documents and all that. And to some extent, Command, we can bring documents into Command. But a document management system is really a piece of software they spend a whole lot of time figuring out how to get stuff into, how to index the documents that are in there so that you can find them at some point in the future. Okay? A system which can keep track of our agreements, our amendments, our photos, our scanned images. There are document management systems out there that keep up with all your emails. Okay? We're not going to talk about that, but a document management system can keep track of all this stuff. The only way that the document management system is going to keep track of all your stuff is if you put it in it. If you don't put it in there, it ain't going to keep up with it. All right? Some document management systems incorporate a workflow. If you bring the document in, it kind of goes through its own little life cycle until you get it out the back end. Has everybody used .loop before? Anybody not used .loop? Okay, so you know how in .loop you say, I got this listing agreement, and you click on the buttons and it puts your name in there, then you create a contact, and then it emails it out to all the parties, and they e-signature and bring it back in. That's a workflow. But .loop is the document management system. You're not managing your contacts. You're not doing emails, mass emails using .loop. You're managing your documents in .loop. Okay? Examples, .loop, who'd have thunk? RDocs, anybody ever used RDocs? Okay. RDocs to some extent does the same thing .loop does. DocuSign, that's what we're about to use, and what you'll find is DocuSign is not a whole lot different than .loop. Okay, it's just another tool, right? You got a yellow handle shovel as opposed to a red handle shovel. It's still a shovel. KW Command is kind of, sort of, a CRM and a document management system. Okay? So KW Command is kind of, remember, it's software built by real estate agents for real estate agents. So all the real estate agents say, man, I want it to do this and that and this and that. In the end of the day, what they're saying is, we want KW Command to be a CRM system, we want it to be a document management system, we want it to be everything, right? And supposedly, they're going to say yes to every question. If you have special functionality that you want, they'll put it in there. They're not guaranteeing when it'll happen, but this is going to be all things to all people. All right, I call this the spider, all right? KW Command is a platform. You've heard everybody talk about this platform. Well, the platform simply means it's a software system that has a whole bunch of modules that are all integrated together. So the KW platform has a module that allows you to keep up with all your leads and your contacts. Okay? It has a module that allows you to do all kinds of marketing. Marketing can be text messaging to a bazillion people, email messaging to a bazillion people, postcards to a bazillion people. What else am I missing? Anyway, it's a module that allows you to do marketing to all these leads and contacts. Remember? So once you got a bunch of leads, we want to market to them. So what we do is we take all those names and we throw them into the marketing module, and you decided for my business is best suited for email campaigns. Great, just use that part of it. Somebody else says, my business works best by sending postcards to neighborhoods. Great, use that part. And some whippersnapper comes in here and says, I'm an integrated marketing specialist. I'm going to do all of them. Great, they're all in there. There is a document management module inside Command. So one of the things that we want to do is once you've got a lead or a contact and you got this opportunity, we want to start tracking each opportunity, and over time what it's going to do, it's going to show you that, you know what, most deals that you do usually take about 137 days to do. You go, I never thought about that. So the more data, the more information that you put into the system, the more reports it's going to give out back to you about your own business. And one of the other things that's kind of cool is KW takes all of that information and says, now the average agent at KW takes 67 days. So it's not going to say that, hey, you're the best agent in the office, but it's going to say this is how you stack up to all the other 160,000 agents out there. So to give you some idea of, am I doing really well, am I average, or am I poor? But the document management module allows you to keep up with anything that you want to keep up with. You met somebody and they said, I want to sell my house. And you say, hey, great. Have you got a plat map? Well, remember, you can create the opportunity anytime you want to, as far out as you want to. In my book, you create an opportunity when you feel pretty certain there's a deal here, right? And so you say, hey, here's my plat map. And so what you do is you go to the copy machine over here in the bullpen, and you scan that document, you scan that plat map in, you come into Command, you say, there's a deal here. You create your opportunity. And one of the first things you do is you say, I got all of this supplemental information that could be beneficial for me, right? And you scan that in. Now, it may be 6 months before they ever list that house with you, but as you start acquiring these bits and pieces of information, you can scan them into your document management system, and you got them there, right? Again, Command is a platform made up of modules. There's an opportunities module. You do not have to use opportunities at all. I'm assuming the reason that you're here in class is because you think, hey, here's a tool that can help me, that's pretty neat, and the price is right. Well, if you keep up with opportunities, then the more information you put in there, the more it's going to help you going down the road. There's a part that says, remember, you've heard that green sheets are going away. Well, what's going to happen is all the MCA is going to do is use a portion of Command to track all that, to make it easier for you to fill out this information and for them to keep track of it in order to pay you. So one of the things we're going to talk about is, even if you don't want to use opportunities, you're simply going to create an opportunity, and it's going to show, and I'm going to show you how you're going to use this to get paid. All right? Now, some of these modules have direct integration to third-party applications. Some of them you have to come in through an intermediary or a broker or a Rosetta Stone. All right? In and out. Some of these systems allow you to bring all of your data into command, and it is a bidirectional synchronization, meaning that if you change something in command, it will actually change it back from whence it came. Okay? Read my lips. You can shoot both of your feet off if you're not careful. So if you decide that, hey, I want to use command, but I've got all my data in this other system, well, it's not that good of an opportunity or situation that you're trying to keep data in both systems. Because sooner or later, you're going to put something in one system that's not in the other system, and then everything's going to synchronize, and you're going to have duplicates, either on your iPhone or in KW Command. So once you say, I want to use command as a tool, we'll set up and we'll figure out how to get the data out of whatever system you're using, and then we turn off that synchronization, and you say, I'm going to use one system or the other system. Or if you don't and you want to use the bidirectional synchronization, just understand that you need to set some rules that say Google Contacts always wins or command always wins, because you don't want that database that you've spent so much time cleaning up to get duplicates, and now you got to spend the whole weekend click, 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 click over 713 duplicates and then delete them all. Right? One-way synchronization and two-way synchronization. Different apps do it different ways. All right. Remember we talked about different document management systems and e-signature systems? We talked about, what are they? Are some of them off the top of your head? Not a trick question. How about if I give you a quick answer? How about DocuSign? Okay. DocuSign is integrated directly into, remember I talked about one-way or two-way? All right. So DocuSign is integrated directly into the document management module of command. That does not mean that you can only use DocuSign. Okay? You can have a file upload. Remember I talked about a minute ago about going to the scanner out here in the bullpen and scanning in your commission check? Well, guess what? You scan it in, you go into your email, just like you've always done, and you take that document and you do a file upload into command, or anything else you ever wanted to scan in. So with other disparate systems like .loop or RDocs, you can take documents out of these other systems and simply do a file upload into command. So you never lose all your stuff. You've got all your stuff, right? All right. The email marketing systems. We haven't talked a lot about email marketing other than broadcast or blast emails, right? So today, Command has two integrations that are direct into the marketing module of Command. All right? They are MailJet and MailChimp. And those two integrate directly into the marketing module. Right? Those are different than Gmail. So Gmail is your desktop email between Barney and Fred. Okay? Mass marketing email blast goes out through either MailJet or MailChimp, but your regular one-off email is using Gmail. Okay? And it goes, that Gmail integrates to the leads and contacts module. The broadcast email integrates into the marketing module. Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay. We have other CRMs. And remember the survey that we did? What's the number one that most people use? eEdge, right? So people do use Google Contacts. They use Top Producer. They use Referral Maker. They use eEdge. Now on this particular, what I'm calling a spider diagram, anything that's in yellow has direct integration directly into command. You don't need to write it down. It's not a test question or anything like that. It's just for your knowledge. These other CRMs that can indeed integrate into command are using a piece of software called PieSync. You remember that TV program advertisement used to come on for the Rosetta Stone? Learn any language. Learn German in 3 hours. Right? Well, this is what PieSync does. So what PieSync is a third-party company, and what PieSync has done is they've gone out and said, hey, we understand everything about command and the names of their fields and the names of their records and all this kind of stuff. We've also gone out to Google Contact and Top Producer and like 150 other ones, and they figured out their syntax also. If we were to all create our own little database, and I said, I'm going to have, my first is going to be name, and I'm expecting first name and a last name in that field. Well, Hank might say, I want to have two fields. I want to have a first name field and a last name field, right? So now all of a sudden we have the same information, but we're a totally different way of putting it together. So this is what PieSync does, is it puts it together and peels it back so that all these other systems can talk to the KW command system. So PieSync has an integration into the leads and contacts module of command. PieSync also has integration into all these others and 150 more. There's a boatload of them out there. Okay? eEdge has a direct integration into the leads and contact. Okay? So that's what I'm calling the spider diagram. Questions so far?
Can you ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
From eEdge into command, is it automatically transferring, or do you have to physically move each one over? The reason why I'm asking you that is because half of my database is already moved in there.
It's already moved in here?
Yeah. And
Why didn't you do all of it?
I didn't do it at all.
It just magically happened?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so probably what happened was one day when you were asleep, it just happened. You didn't do it. But somebody hit the button that says integrate eEdge with command.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you didn't do it. It's somebody who walked past your desk one day and hit that button that says integrate it. And so it did.
Okay, in a real sense, how did it happen?
You hit a button that says make them talk, and it happened.
What button?
I don't know. But when you go into command, over on the top right it says settings, and when you go into settings it allows you to hook up all of these modules. Okay? And if you hook them up and you put your name and your login in there, it says, okay, cool. Let's go backwards. So eEdge says, all right, if I know the login into KW command, I know that it's Ernie, I know what his password is, and he obviously wants to integrate these together or he never would have clicked the button that says make them talk.
Mm-hmm.
Then it says, my best guess is this is what I do, and it sent them in there.
Okay, so sync is on, then it's syncing.
Yep. Well, is it syncing bi-directional or one way?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Are they newer leads or older leads?
Some new, some new, and some.
Are you using command as your, what I'm calling my system of record? Using command today for your business?
No.
So one of the exercises, it would probably be a good idea, would be to experiment, how do I go in there and highlight a whole bunch of people and delete them all, right?
In command.
Yeah.
Yeah. you
You're
can
not
do that.
using command. So where I would start over.
Mm-hmm.
But the first thing I would do is disconnect my connector between eEdge and command.
So stop the sync.
Correct. Because guess what? If you go into command and you delete everybody out, all right, Well, E-Edge is going to say, hey, I'm already connected. There's nobody over here. So it just syncs them all again. And what's even worse is if you had bidirectional going on and you deleted all these people over here, it deletes them out of E-Edge, and now you're double screwed. Make sense? Turn off your connector before you shoot both feet off. Okay? Good question.
Is it the same thing with DocuSign? Because right now I'm using DocuSign.
All right, are you paying for DocuSign?
Yes.
All right, so one of the little fine point, the little small point, like the 4 point down at the bottom that you can't read, even with reading glasses, if you have a paid, do they call it Premier account? What do they call it? If you have a paid DocuSign account, it will not talk directly to KW Command. Well, let me set backspace. The way that KW Command works with DocuSign is, as you already know, DocuSign is a standalone application. You don't have to have Command to use DocuSign, and you've been using DocuSign for years, right? DocuSign is a pretty cool piece of software. DocuSign works by your email address login. Okay? DocuSign cannot talk to KW Command if you have the same email address on both systems. So, how do you fix it? Well, the first thing you do is, if the email address that you're using for KW Command, okay, let's just say that it was nancy@kw.com. However, the email address that you're using for DocuSign,
It's totally different.
then there's the probability that those two can talk out of the box like you have. But it's kind of a pain that, at some point, you probably need to have those sync together. It is syncable, but you're going to have to talk to DocuSign and explain what's going on.
And I want to stop paying DocuSign because I've got this module that,
Right.
so, yeah.
Right.
Well, okay. That
So
will explain.
it's absolutely doable.
That will explain why they don't answer my question of how do I sync it up to another and not pay you.
Right.
And they're like, hello?
Yeah. Well, all right. So here's another little trick: remember that directory that you found on the street? Is everybody in that subdivision, and you want to import all those people into Command? All right. What Command indexes every contact or lead off their email address. So if somebody were to give you a spreadsheet of 317 people with their name, address, telephone number, shoe size, and eye color, and no email address, it's not going to import into Command, because Command has to have an email address in order to bring it in. So you know those 416 people that you've got in your Google Contacts? Clean them up. Because if you've got 416 people in Google Contacts and 47 of them don't have an email address, then either make up a fake email address that's unique, or those are not going to import into Command. Okay? It's very important that I would suggest that, you know how they say you prep the wall and it takes twice as long to prep a wall before you ever paint it? That's exactly what we're doing here. You've got to prep the wall before you paint it. Clean up your database before you bring it into Command. And there are all kinds of tools for doing it. Search for duplicates, right? If you have duplicates in your external database and they have different email addresses, Command considers those people to be two different people. Okay? All right. The life cycle of an opportunity. I talked a little bit about a life cycle. A human life cycle starts from birth, and then one day you die. And then everything that happens in between is part of your life cycle, and each one of those phases of your life can be longer or shorter depending on how you live your life. So we're going to call the life cycle is the total amount of time from the day you're born to the day you die. The phases of your life are the transitions that you go through, right? One day you graduate from high school and you go, oh man, I got a new life that starts next week because I'm going to college. Different phase of your life, right? The same thing happens with a life cycle of your deal. You got the listing agreement. The next thing that happens is we start marketing it. The next thing that happens is we get a contract. The next thing that happens is we sell it and close it. And what's the next thing that happens after that?
You pay taxes on it.
They do. You don't. You're the agent.
And nurture it.
Because one day you're going to sell it for them again, aren't you? And the whole life cycle starts all over again. 7 years from now, they decide, hey, I appreciate you helping me buy that house. Now I'd like to sell it. You got a new life cycle, a new opportunity, right? So what I'm trying to say is opportunities stretch over a period of time, but there are different phases that happen during each opportunity, right? All right, a few rules and definitions according to the God of command. Right? Their life cycle is defined as a cultivation of a deal or an opportunity. There is an appointment phase of the opportunity. Then the opportunity is active, then it's under contract, and then it's closed. Those are the phases of an opportunity, and those are hard-coded and defined by command. You cannot change that. So that's the vernacular that you're going to have to... There's only a few rules that we have, but these are the rules that you will live by. You're in the cultivation phase of an opportunity. And a whole bunch of stuff happens during the cultivation phase. You're in the appointment phase of an opportunity, and a whole bunch of stuff happens. And you know what? If I was to ask you, I say, Nancy, can you define what happens in your cultivation stage? You go, oh yeah, I do this and that and this and that and this and that. I come over here, I ask anybody else, Ernie, what happens in your cultivation stage? Well, I do it differently. I worked at Delta for 177 years, and this is what we did at Delta. Right?
77 years.
Well, I had hair. Right? So, the life cycle of a listing opportunity is different, or can be different, than the life cycle of a buyer's opportunity. Agreed? Different stuff happens. A lot of people don't do leases, but the life cycle of a leasing opportunity could be totally different than the life cycle of a buying or a listing. Everybody agree on that? What you do in your particular phase is up to you and what has worked for you. And that's one of the cool things about command is command allows you to set up whatever checklist that you want to do business the way you want to do it. We're going to talk about the life cycle of a listing opportunity. Because if we talk about the life cycle of a listing opportunity, then you can say, all right, well, that makes sense. Now I can do a buyer's opportunity. And if you ever wanted to do a leasing one, then create your leasing one. Right? The life cycle of a listing opportunity is still going to be made up of the cultivate phase, the appointment, the active, the under contract, and the close. What you do in each one of those phases is up to you. Okay? So, this is my artwork. Hopefully it makes sense. It makes sense to me. The life cycle of an opportunity is made up of the cultivate, the appointment stage, right? Cultivate stage, appointment stage, active stage, under contract stage, and closed stage. Now, that's a vertical representation of this line over here, right? You're born one day and you die one day. Well, if you're going to do an opportunity, you're going to cultivate it one day and you're going to close it one day, right? Now, what happens when we start with the cultivation stage, okay? Now, again, we have the stages can be anything that you want them to be. In this, we're just talking about a listing opportunity because a buyer's opportunity, they may have different stages. All right? So, and I'm making this is not right or wrong. You don't even have to copy this down because you can build it any way you want to build it. In the cultivate phase, the very first stage is somebody has raised their hand about a possible deal. Remember we talked about a lead? You don't know him from Moses. But a contact has raised their hand and says, hey, I've read your email. There may be something there. One day, I want to talk to you. Well, in this situation, the person raised their hand and said, I'm thinking about selling my house. And you go, whoa, he's pretty serious. We had 4 drinks together. There's an opportunity here. So you go over to command because that person has already been in your database. We already put them in the database 6 months ago. And we've been sending emails to them. And finally, the guy raises his hand and says, I want to sell my house. You go, ooh, there's an opportunity here. I want to track everything going forward. So the very first thing you do is I say stage number 1 is he's raised his hand. As much as I know today, there's a 1% probability that this deal is going to close. Now, one of the things that command allows you to do is put whatever percentage. I put 1% up here. Nancy may say, you know what? If somebody says they want to sell their house, man, there's 5% probability that's going to close. So when you put whatever numbers you want to put up there, as you're tracking your success over time, it's going to say you've got $1 million of stuff in your pipeline. Most of it's 30% probability, so the weighted probability is $300,000 of business, right? The next stage in the cultivate phase is we're going to nurture that deal. Now, when we raised the hand a while ago and we created this opportunity, my checklist says, confirm I've got the best phone number. And there's a checkbox. And it allows you to do this for every single one of your deals. So that you know that when you do everything in this first card over here that says, raise my hand, confirm the best phone number, confirm the best email of the contact, and add the spouse to the database. Okay? You go check, check, check. And one of the things that's pretty cool when we look at the software is this particular card, you can grab it with your mouse and you can drag it over to the next phase. To the next stage. Right? I've done it, and you drag it over. You say, hey, that's pretty cool. It's kind of like Post-it notes on the wall. You know? The next stage in my particular opportunity is nurture the deal. I think that once I get to this stage, there's a 7% probability I'm going to close this deal. All right? I'm going to put the seller on a drip from the FMLS. Most everybody's done that before, right? Maybe you do it, maybe you don't do it. I'm going to put everybody on the Command Smart Plan. Well, you have no idea what I'm talking about right now. But remember I was telling you about that you can put people in a bucket and every 2 weeks, anything that's in that neighborhood automatically gives them an email. It says these are the houses that sold or whatever. I'm going to add this person to my sphere of influence email marketing campaigns that I've set up through MailChimp or whatever you want to do, right? Check, check, check. All right, I've done all that. And guess what? I'm going to take my contact and I'm going to drag them over to the next stage that I'm calling the deal is getting hot. You can call it anything you want to. I call it the deal is getting hot. And I think that once it gets to this stage, there's a 20% probability that this deal is going to close. This opportunity is going to close, right? The seller has expressed an interest. Now it's time to contact the seller and set up a listing appointment. All right? Now, guess what happens? When I do that and I check it, we then drag it over to the next phase of the life cycle, which is the appointment phase, and a whole new group of steps happens that I have defined the way I do my business, and you're going to define the way you do your business. So once we get over to a new phase, we just went from birth to puberty in our life cycle. Okay? We're going to schedule the initial appointment. I have found that if I can get an appointment with somebody, there's a 25% probability I'm going to close this house. You put whatever number you want in there. Okay? And then what's going to happen is over time, after you get 50 transactions in there, then KW wakes up and says, hey, statistically, we got enough data that we can work with. Here is how you stack up to what other agents are doing out there in the world. Okay? We get into the appointment stage, the appointment phase, and the very first stage is called schedule initial appointment, update the command details. Okay? Start adding docs to the listing folder. Find and create comps. Now, Fran's going to say, well, you know what? I do more stuff than that. And what you're going to see in the software is you can put in here, if you want to set that you want to put 6 more little check boxes right here, absolutely, you can put them in there. Because that's the way you and your team do business. You go check, 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 and guess what you do? You drag that card over to the next stage that we're calling the listing appointment preparation. I have found that if I do the listing appointment preparation, there's a 30% probability I'm going to close this deal. Okay? I'm going to create a CMA. I'm going to prepare a listing presentation. I'm going to obtain a signature. Wouldn't that be helpful? And I'm going to call up my law firm and I'm going to request a warranty deed. Because that's what I do during this particular stage. Okay? My next stage is I'm going on the listing appointment, and I found that every time I go on a listing appointment, there's a 35% probability I'm going to close this opportunity. Okay? I'm going to create more comps. I'm going to outline the cost of sale, and I'm going to take all this paperwork that I've got so far, and I'm going to insert it into my command opportunity. Remember I said that command is kind of sort of both a CRM and a document management system? Well, the CRM, we got all the names and contacts information. We got the spouse's name and all that kind of stuff. Now we're going to kind of put on our document management hat, and all these warranty deeds and scanned documents and all this other stuff we're going to put into that opportunity because I got this folder basically, right? So that's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing in this particular stage. The last stage of this phase is my post-appointment. And I found that if I do this 40% of the time, I'm going to close this particular opportunity. All right? I'm going to order the preliminary title report. I'll follow up with a client and give them my document about tips for selling, 723 tips on selling your house. All right? And then I'm going to post, because now we can do it in FMLS, coming soon. Right? So if I do all of these stages of the appointment phase, then I'm like, man, this is coming together pretty good. The next phase in my life cycle, we just went from puberty to college, is going to be called everything is active. Right? When it goes active, we're going to prepare a listing. I found that if I do this, 45% of the time I close the business. These are all the things that I'm going to do during this particular stage of this particular phase. Questions so far? Kind of makes sense? You may or may not agree with a lot of the little checklist I have here, but the beauty is you're able to build it any way you want to do that. My next stage is I'm going to publish the listing. I found that once I publish the listing, 50% of the time I sell the house. Okay? I'm going to prepare the listing in Bridge. I'm going to install a for sale sign. I'm going to post it on FMLS and Georgia MLS and the neighborhood mailer. I'm going to link it to the Keller Williams system, right? The next stage is social media. Some people use social media, some people don't use social media. So if you don't use social media at all, you don't even need this stage. You don't even have to create the stage, right? If you say, you know what, I do so many things in social media that I got 2 different stages of social media. You can have as many stages as you want to because you're building your own workflow. The next stage is I'm going to have an open house. I found if I do open houses, 70% of the time I close a business. And these are all the things that I do in the open house. And the last thing I do in the active phase is I have a negotiation stage. And when I get to this stage, 80% of the time, I close the business. Now what you're going to find in command is you can change these numbers to be the way you do business and what your history and experience tells you. Okay? Nancy, you've been doing it a whole lot longer than I have. When you get to negotiation, do you close 80% of the time?
Yeah.
Okay? More than 80%?
Yeah.
Then you would change this number to whatever feels right for you. Okay? There is no right or wrong number. You paint your own picture. Okay? Now, we're going under contract. Here's what happens when we go under contract. I still have a bunch of stages to under contract. All right? The earnest money and all of these things are important. The inspection and all of these things are important. I created these, okay? When you get your screen, you're basically going to have a blank. You're going to sit there and go, oh my God, what do I do? Well, you're going to put whatever you want to put in here, okay? We get to the appraisal and the finance. I found that if we get that far, 90% of the time, we're closing the business. Nancy knows that 97% of the time she's closing the business, okay? And then when we clear to close, 95% probability that we're going to close on this house, okay? Once we do all of those things, then we close. Once we go to closing, what do you think the percentage is? Once we go to closing, what do you think the percentage is we're going to close?
100%.
No, it's not 100%.
It's not 100%,
Not 100%.
but it's pretty darn close, right? But what is every salesperson going to put?
100.
100%. Guaranteed, right? So now, once we close the deal, the opportunity, here's all the other stuff we're going to do. We got to update Bridge or MLS, right? We got to say it's sold. So there. Once it's closed, there's still stuff we have to do. So now you got this huge piece of paper with all these boxes, and your head is exploding, right? And you're going, oh my God. Wouldn't I love to take a picture of that with my phone? Or wouldn't it be nice if Pete would give me that piece of paper?
Even better.
Yeah, what is,
Did you say we get a gift for coming?
You're not going to have to take the final exam.
what is a GMB?
That is the gift.
Google my business.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. So this is like, put your action plans in top producer.
That's exactly right. This basically, you could call it an action plan.
Does it have, when you do it, you actually check it off?
Yep.
Done?
Yep, exactly. Okay, so this is a good point to either answer questions or go to the bathroom. But you can't do both. All right, what about if we take about, since it's 11:18, can we take an 8-minute break, and at 11:25 we start back? All right, you got 8 minutes. All right, if you're listening to me online, oh, you know what? Darn it, I wish I had this screen up. There's a screen for those that are online. That's the screen we've been talking about the whole time, and unfortunately, I was not driving the camera at the same time. So now, at least for those that are online, this is what we've been talking about for the last however many particular minutes. And it is 11:18. At 11:25, we're going to start back.
You ever sit in that piece, that park building, in 031A? Just have a look. I called you on? Yeah. I was on the other side, and I needed the, that information from you. Yeah. And so I checked, but that was this information that was like.
It helped.
Oh, yeah, it helped.
Yeah, that's what's up.
It helped, cause you know what I was doing.
Right.
Hey, yeah. Come on.
Rashad, have you seen that video about how to get your stuff out of dot loop? Okay, then either hit me up or hit Stacy up. I wanted to use you as a guinea pig since you've got pre-Keller Williams deals in your dot loop.
I don't know if I'm the best person for that one.
Well, no, I know how to do it.
Right.
All I need you to do is log in.
Right.
But I created a video.
Okay.
And it says, this is how to get all your stuff out of dot loop and in command.
Okay.
And I don't think, logically anyway, I don't think you're gonna have any issue with getting all your stuff out of dot
I
loop.
didn't use a dot. I use our docs more, so.
Doesn't matter.
So.
Same diff.
Okay.
Same diff. Doesn't really matter.
Okay.
So that's what we've been talking about here this morning.
My assistant is doing all that.
Okay.
Operations manager. I think she's over at. She's going to the closing coordinators thing they're having over at Sandy Springs. So taking that class over there.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it doesn't have to happen today, but somebody had said that you have a whole bunch of deals from when you were at a different agency.
Oh.
And you're concerned about, what about when we stop using dot loop, am I going to be able to get all of my stuff out? And I think the answer is you shouldn't have any issue getting all your stuff out, but I haven't worked with anybody that had deals from a previous agency.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that, Pete. Yeah, and so yeah, you're right. I do need to look at that, and just wanted to make sure my coach been getting on me about making sure I stay to doing the income producing things and keeping the closing coordinating operation rather than doing that stuff right there. So
Yeah.
that's why I say she's handling all that. But yeah, I'll take a look at the
Yeah,
video.
well, I mean,
So
I don't know how many
what you're
deals you got, but I mean, the reality is you need to be backing them all up anyway.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
I don't think there's going to be any issues with doing it. We just have to test it and see.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'll be in touch. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
I'm Selena.
MJ. Nice to meet you, Selena.
when are they dropping dot loop?
Well, technically, they're not dropping dot loop. So you will always be able, this is Word, you will always be able to use dot loop in your historical business. If you weren't even in the real estate business today, you could go to dot loop and you could have a subscription. You could be in the auto finance business, right? So it's my understanding that dot loop actually will give anybody a free account, irrespective of what industry you're in.
Okay, let me put it, when are they going to, are we gonna have to start putting things in here?
All right, baby.
September. So what'll
In 3 days?
yes.
2
Yeah,
days,
at
whatever.
some point, one of the things that they're
Will it
working
be
through.
signing, will we be signing there? I wanna learn how to sign it, or,
Well, so DocuSign is an application, just like Word is an application, right? So we'll probably end up having classes on DocuSign, because DocuSign, remember DocuSign's document management system and an e-signature? Well, it has, for all intents and purposes, it doesn't have anything to do with command,
okay.
right? So how the functionality and the menus and the click here and the click there's of DocuSign are totally different than the click here and the click there's of command. So just like dot loop is totally different click here and click there than e-edge, right? So it's just another application that you'll have to learn.
But I'm sorry, I use RDocs, so I don't really only use dot loop to store my,
Okay.
because the office requires it.
Right.
So,
what the
what is the
office,
office gonna need and when, so I,
so the office is going to require that you create an opportunity in command and that you upload the requisite documents into the opportunity. Now, whether those requisite documents are kept in DocuSign or not, it's kind of up to you.
okay. So you got it, and if you're using DocuSign, it will not automatically put them in command,
Actually,
or will it?
it won't put them in command, but it will link them.
Right,
Okay? So technically, it's not putting them in there,
Right.
but you can link them directly. And one of the things that's kind of nice about it is, remember we talked about creating an opportunity, and you name the opportunity whatever you want to name the opportunity. Just like you used to name the loop, whatever you wanted to name the loop.
Okay.
So once you name the opportunity, then everything stays with that naming convention. But if you were to create all this stuff in DocuSign, well, if this kind of gets kind of crazy, I probably shouldn't. If you create a list,
No, you're good.
so when do you use Bridge?
yeah,
Okay, good.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't. But if you use Bridge, you don't have to do it twice.
right.
So however you put it in Bridge, it goes to Georgia MLS, it goes to FMLS, right? Then it goes to KWLS. Then it goes to Zillow and it goes everywhere else, right? Because they all replicate off of the IDX gateway,
Right.
right?
Is that
So however you name that,
Cell
if
phone.
you create a
That's all
list
I have.
Oh, okay. What is
Then
it? I'm thinking it's your cell phone.
before you
Yes.
ever create an opportunity,
Yeah, I don't have
which in
a
my opinion is backwards, but it doesn't matter. You can create, you
Text
can
me
click
that,
on
right?
your listing, and it will bring the listing in and create the opportunity by that name and the DocuSign document by that name. So I guess it's kind of neat, you know? But the reality is, if somebody raises their hand and says, I want to buy a house,
I feel.
in that life cycle, that happened way back
From a
here,
people's
Gotcha.
right? Before you came over here, you need to fill out a read.
In our,
How do they want us to name it, by the street name?
Well, I can't answer that one. That's probably an MCA question.
Okay.
That's an alley question.
it's like, I'm sure it's.
Generally, isn't it street, last
No,
street, something like that?
This does not look
Well,
right.
in
Yeah.
dot loop, we put seller and the address buyer.
Okay.
That's just how we do it.
In a perfect world,
But I don't know if that's what the office likes.
we'll just have to figure that part out, how they want to do it. you know?
So if we're in the middle of something now, we don't have to put it into an opportunity in command. If we're in the
Well, if the middle.
Life
So
cycle.
if we're in the life cycle and this is the middle and this is gonna be another 4 months, then the answer is probably you're gonna have to. But if you're
We're
talking
talking-
2 weeks,
You
then
need to wear your
30
glasses
days.
more often.
So 4
Yeah.
months is when this totally goes over.
no, I didn't say
Okay.
that. So they wanna cut this thing over in September,
Okay.
okay?
This
we're
September.
talking days,
This coming
not months,
September.
4 days.
Yes,
Yeah.
this coming September.
Next week is.
Well, that's why you're sitting here. Because you knew that. and you
Nancy,
were-
that's why we are advanced.
That's-
So dot loop
We've
is
always
going
been
away.
like this.
All right, so let me get back. That's a good question. Is everybody back?
Hank's not.
Yes.
No, he's gone.
We're
Yeah,
good.
Hank's gone. All right, I'm going to keep the camera right here for right now, and then somebody remind me before I get into this next one to click it over so the people at home can see the screen, okay? All right, so dot loop is not going away. You will, from what I understand, you will always be able to see your historical, your previous deals. Does that make sense? No questions about that. Everybody understands that if you did a deal last year, that 2 weeks from now you can log into .loop and you can see all the stuff that you did last week, last year, 2 years ago, however many years ago, right? What you will not be able to do once the relationship between KW and .loop goes away is you will not be able to create net new loops.
Right, okay.
Now, all right, question?
So, which is in September,
Correct.
beginning or end?
I want to say it's the 15th.
Oh, the 15, oh, you got 15 days.
Okay, so if I've already created one for a new listing that just came on, for instance, I can still
Add
access
to
that
it?
and add to it?
I can't answer that question.
Okay.
And I haven't really found anybody that could answer that question yet. But hopefully, after this morning, you're going to say, hey, this is kind of cool. I'm going to try this.
Okay, so you put it into command because DocuSign we don't have yet.
Actually, you do have DocuSign. All you have to do is kind of like Ernie. When Ernie turned on E-Edge and everything started happening, well, if you turn on DocuSign, then you'll have DocuSign.
Oh, okay.
How do we do that?
Well, we're not going to talk about it today, but it's in there. It's
How
like
do
the
we
Prego
get to
spaghetti
command?
sauce. It's in there. We're going to talk about that in just a minute.
When
or
you
two.
when you connect all your applications and
Yes.
everything.
When you do
okay.
all your connects, I want to connect this, I want to connect that. One of them is DocuSign. I want to connect that. All right.
And you have, yeah, so I have like a login to DocuSign from
Well,
when other
what's going to
agents
happen
have.
is you're going to create
Oh.
your DocuSign account. It's going to send you an
Through.
email and say, "Hey, thanks for signing up. Please confirm that you want this account."
What if we already have set one up, not a paid one, but just so that I could get access to things from
Well,
I mean,
Nancy-
And the
other
paid one. I'm
agents.
sitting here listening to this conversation.
Nancy had asked me that question earlier.
Right.
All right. And if you have a paid DocuSign account that you already have,
Right,
then more than likely what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to pick up the phone, you're going to have to call DocuSign and say, "Hey DocuSign, I'm with Keller Williams."
Right.
As you may or may not know, or talk to somebody in your office that does know,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now I want to plug my existing DocuSign account into my Keller Williams command. And the way that it all meshes is it keys off of the email address.
okay, so if you have a login but not an account, I don't have to create a new login.
To DocuSign?
Well, I know I have to because I've had other agents.
Have you
who
used
use
DocuSign before?
Only to sign,
Well, that's a yes/no question.
yes?
Okay, then you have an account
Okay,
at DocuSign.
right.
Okay, remember my spider diagram? There's a whole bunch of things that link into
Yeah,
command, and one of the
yes.
things that links into command is DocuSign.
Yes.
Okay, so DocuSign, you cannot link into command with DocuSign with the same email address as if you have a current DocuSign account. You can, but the guys at DocuSign have to go do their magic on the
Right.
back end and make it work.
Okay,
Okay?
understood.
So if I want to, right now it's like a different email. than
I haven't
at
tried it,
KW.
Nancy.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just
So I
regurgitating what
need-
I've heard,
Yeah.
right? So I can't, I guarantee if you go try it and it doesn't work, then you're going to find me at home in the middle of the night. I don't want that to happen.
I won't call you.
I'm not scared. The call I can get away from. It's the knife in the back that I can't get away from. So. Okay. Okay, so dot loop. Let me go back to the dot loop. So dot loop is not going away. You will be able to go back to all your previous loops, and I created a video, and I'll have to remember to send you guys the link to it, but I created a video on how to get all your stuff out of dot loop so that you can put it into the opportunities of command. You don't have to do it, but I would assume that you want all this data from your previous deals, at least for 2019, right?
Right.
Because that way, what you can do at the end of the year is you can say, hey, let's look at 2019. Let me see what kind of year it was. These are all the deals. This is the volume that I did. And if you plug that stuff in, now if you're doing if you've already done 70 deals between January 1st and today, then I'm just talking in a corner. But, you know, if you had 5 or 10 or 20 deals and you put those for 2019 and you put those into the opportunity now, then it'll allow you to track this stuff going forward for the rest of the year. And then in 2020, you can see how you did versus 2019. Right? Document management system is only as good as the stuff you put in it.
Right.
Okay? Dot loop is not going away. You'll be able to see all your old stuff, and you can today you can go, not only can you pull out a single document from a single loop, but you can bundle all of the documents in a loop into one big document and bring that over.
Ah, oh, that's
Okay.
cool. Okay.
Okay? That, in my video, it shows you how to do that.
Okay.
Okay? All right.
What's your video?
What is it? How to pull?
Is that on YouTube or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I should. You know what I'll do for the next class? I'll put the link in the presentation.
Okay.
But I'm kind of, since you guys are the guinea pigs, we're learning as we go. Okay. So for the people keeping score at home, this is where we left off. And so what we want to do now, and you got the cheat sheet, so if you're lucky enough to be here in class, you got the cheat sheet so that you didn't have to furiously do screenshots at home. All right, now let's talk about the life cycle of a buyer's opportunity. There's 3 types of opportunities, remember? What are they?
Buyer, seller, leasing.
Buyer, seller, lease. That's exactly
So
right.
are we supposed to make these little squares in our,
I'm going to show you when we get into
So
command.
we're
You'll
supposed
see
to
where you
make
get,
these.
and you're going to make your square any
Okay.
way you want it. All right. If you say he's full of bunk, then you put whatever check sheet you want in.
Right.
All right. Okay. So let's talk about the life cycle of a buyer's opportunity. Guess what? We still have cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. And we have those because those are hard-coded into command. You can't change that. Everything else you can change. So our life cycle is still cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. Okay? We're going to go a little faster than we did last time. We still have the life cycle. We still have cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and close. But the stages are different. And what you'll notice when we start working in command is you can create, for cultivate, you may have 10 stages, because that's the way you do business. Or you have an assistant, and you all sit down and say, hey, these are the things that need to happen. And because what you want to do is you want to check them off so that you can drag that card to the next one, right? So somebody raised their hand as a possible deal, I want to buy a house. You're going to nurture the deal. You're going to put them on a drip campaign. And now that's working, and they say, hey, I like that blue house on the corner. Deal's getting hot. Now it comes to the appointment stage. We're going to set the initial appointment. We're going to update command details. And what else are we going to do? It's your business. Somebody wants to buy a house. There's not a right or wrong, because I can pretty much tell you there's nothing in the box after this. Okay? What's the next stage?
You're going to ask a lender to
Okay.
approve them.
So when we get into command, this box is going to come up, and you know what it's going to look like?
Lender.
That box right there.
Oh,
And you know what you're going to type? Lender, because this is the way Nancy does her stage. Her next stage is you're going to call the lending stage. Okay? And then the stage after that, what are you going to call it? It's your business.
sign these documents.
Okay? So, if you're sitting in class, then you're lucky enough to get this piece of paper, which doesn't have squat on it. So, now you kind of know, remember we just went through all of this earlier, right? And what you're going to understand is
No, I
that
thought that was
you
fine.
are going to put your entire workflow together any way you want to do it.
One of these, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay, keep that.
You want the big one or
Don't
the
get the-
empty one? Big one?
Sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. I just was like,
Where'd it go? Yep, good question.
Now, notice here that I have in this stage, let me click, since the people at home, since there's not a whole lot to look at now, let's come back over here. All right, so notice that this stage, I only have 4 boxes. I don't know if that's right or wrong or whatever, because you can have, you as your own business owner using command can have however many stages you want. Okay? I don't know what the right number is. Just like when we get down here to active, I don't know what the right number of stages is for this particular phase. But what I want you to try to understand is that the words that we're using, and I'm not tall enough to reach up there, but see where it says stages? So stages is all the hoops we have to jump through per phase in a life cycle. Okay? So as from command's perspective, you cannot change the cultivate, the appointment, the active, the under contract, and the close. But you, the way you do business, can absolutely control however many stages you want to have in each one of these phases. Now, does that look a lot like the piece of paper I just gave you? So what you got to do, and I would suggest that you do this before you do it in command. Okay? Curl up with this piece of paper and start thinking about it and say, you know what, this is the way I do business. And start writing it down in those boxes, because then when you fire up command and you start entering this into command, you can just work off your little cheat sheet there. Because if you think about it, if you put all this stuff in today and you started doing business in command tomorrow, 2 weeks from now you can say, you know, I want to change that stage. I want to add another stage. And that stage that I want to add 14 items in my checklist. Well, that's fine, and you can absolutely do it. Just understand that none of your previous deals or opportunities have that stage or phase, or have that stage in there. Does that make sense? So kind of think through it, and you can certainly change it, but just don't go changing the way you do business every single week, because it'll make it confusing. All right. So that really is your homework. We went through the listing life cycle. We've talked about the buyer's life cycle. We're not even going to address the leasing life cycle, because if you understand listing and buyers, then you can build your own in leasing. Okay? So anybody want to take a look at command?
Yes.
Who'd have thunk? All right. So on your computers, bring up your web browser, and I want you to go to agent.kw.com.
was it?
Agent, A-G-E-N-T, agent.kw.com. Hopefully your screen looks like mine. It's your regular old KW login. If your screen doesn't look like this, raise your hand. Okay, good. Go ahead and sign in.
What do we sign in with our normal?
With your normal KW.com login. Yep.
Oh, that's exciting.
Well, so here's another little trick. Today's Thursday, but on Tuesdays, they update KW. Tuesday's a terrible day. I call that the KW spiral of death. All right, so it lasted however long you just saw it on my screen. But on Tuesdays, holy mackerel. Like this past Tuesday for like an hour or 2 hours, the opportunities module was down. So that spiral of death was just going round and round and round and nothing ever happened. So Tuesdays is really a slow day, okay? Now, I made a note.
Do we have to accept cookies?
Go ahead, yes, go ahead and accept the cookie. And when you have a cookie on your browser, what it allows the website that's requesting that cookie to do is to store some information about your visit. In your case, that it probably will store your login and password so that next time you come on, remember how mine popped up just a second ago? Okay, so cookies stores information on the web browser, hopefully to make your next trip easier.
It will not, my thought is, it won't be like when you sign on to Amazon. It's like everything that you possibly thought about with Amazon buying pops up. They're not
Actually,
selling
it all started, it's, we're kind of going off in the weeds, but you have a cookie, but you also have a pixel. And so one of the things that they track is you notice how you looked at something on Amazon and then you go to Facebook or you go to CNN or wherever, and the stuff that you just looked at pops up again. That's because you've been cookied.
But cooking onto
You've been pixeled. Sorry.
or accepting the cookies won't all of a sudden get like swimsuits and a shower nozzle.
No. Generally, the cookie does not. The pixel is what does. And there's not a whole lot of, you're going to get pixeled. So now, if you go into incognito mode, then if you were, there's a whole different training class on all that. All right, everybody's looks like mine? All right, has anybody, who has used command before? Ernie's? All right, so nobody else even has a contact in here, correct?
Right.
All right, so remember, it's a CRM. We're going to have a customer relationship management, right? And it's kind of sort of a document management system also. So what we're going to concentrate on right now is how do we get a contact in there? Okay? First thing I want to do is we're going to create ourselves as a contact. So hopefully you can see my mouse. You see over here these two little heads. All right, left click one time. Now I already have some contacts in here, but that's fine. But in your top right corner is sort of what color do you, I'm not much on my interior decorating. What do we call that?
A box.
No, the color.
Green, blue.
Turquoise.
Turquoise. Ernie, you sit over here with me. Okay. It's turquoise.
Green, blue.
No, it's turquoise, right? It's like pink is not pink anymore, it's coral.
Oh.
Right? Yeah. Don't be designed in my house. All right, so it says add contact. So left click one time and add the contact. I guess it'd probably be a good idea to start with you, right? So why don't you put your own information in there? Remember when I sent out the email and I said, hey, if you'll fill in all this information, then I'm going to show you how we can import lists in and stuff like that. Well, not enough people filled it out, so I don't have anything to work with. So we'll just do this one manually.
will it always go in alphabetical order? And the reason I asked, there was another Nancy.
You're talking
A
about
that was-
over here?
Yeah.
Well, you see this little down arrow? You can
Mhm.
sort your list. Up, down, down, up.
There was another Nancy A that I was working with,
Correct?
and it didn't recognize me as the primary Nancy A. It referred back to the other Nancy.
You may have to get creative. This is in your contacts?
Okay, yeah.
Is it by first name?
Put a star next to your name.
Say that question. What's the question?
So Nancy.
Sorry?
Full
First
name.
star.
What's your full name? Fred
It starts with
Flintstone.
your first name.
I would, unless you want me to call you Flintstone Fred.
No, but sometimes I prefer to search by last name.
Well, when you hit search, it'll just search. It doesn't really care so much whether it's last name. What you're talking about is indexing. But you should be able to find Fred or Flintstone.
Okay.
Okay? All right.
Pete,
Yes, sir.
question, and it's probably similar. Looking for the last names, alphabet. So if I'm looking for a particular client, how can I just go down to find M? Do I need to go to the search function?
Do you want to do that, or you just want to type the name in? Because
I like
obviously
both.
you know his last name starts with M, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you just type Martin?
What if I don't, it's one of those long names I'm not sure of the spelling. So just put M?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. In the search?
In the search in the top left?
Okay.
Yeah. Just try it if you got names in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So we got Fred Flintstone in here, or you've got your name, correct? All right. It says add relationship. Now, right here it says spouse. Well, you're making an assumption that the spouse's name is already in there. So if you click spouse right here, they're not going to show up because you haven't put the spouse in there yet. Correct? There is a boatload of information that you can collect about each one of these contacts or leads. Okay? The more that you collect, the more that you can get creative on how you want to market to them. If you put their birthdays in there, then you can send them a birthday text with one of the marketing modules. You can send them a birthday email with one of the marketing modules. You can send them a birthday postcard with one of the marketing modules. But if you don't have their birthday in there, you cannot do any of the three things I just talked about. That make sense? One of the things that's in here, I think, is house anniversary. If you don't put the house anniversary, then you're not going to be able to send them a text message that says happy house anniversary. The more information that you put in there, the more you'll be able to massage the data and use it for marketing purposes. Okay? Now, what's the difference between a lead and a contact?
One way or two way.
Correct. If you notice right here, it says mark as lead. The checkbox says mark as lead. Well, I would assume, I probably shouldn't assume this, but I'm going to assume that if you're manually typing somebody's name in here, you've probably had a two-way communication with them. Is that fair? However, if somebody gave you a database of everybody that lives in Alpharetta, you don't have a communication and you would import that list in. So when you import the list, one of those columns on the spreadsheet says, is this a lead or not? Basically the checkbox. And so when you import those 423,000 people that you don't know, then in that column in the spreadsheet, you would check, you would say yes for lead. And when they all import in and you're looking at all these people over here on the left side, it would be mark as lead. Okay? Did that confuse it?
When you have a client that the husband and the wife are both equally addable or contactable, will one transfer over? Do you have to type both of them in as leads?
Well, that's a great question, and here's how I would answer that. Does he have a different email address than she?
Yes.
Then there's two different contacts.
Okay.
Okay? Now, one of the nice things is, once they're in there, you can come up here and click on spouse and type in his name, and then he would be associated with her. Makes sense? As
But
long, and
that-
kids too.
And if they have the same email address,
Then it's on one contact.
it's like Chris and Kimberly.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Question? Everybody's got a contact in there?
I have a
Question?
question on the tags.
Okay.
Can we add additional tags?
Absolutely, you can add additional tags. Now, here's something that's kind of cool about tags, is a tag. All right, let's talk about Pete standing up here at the front of the room. We could tag Pete as instructor. We could tag Pete as nice guy. We could tag Pete as East Cobb. You could tag me a whole bunch of ways, right? And you could tag me with 6 different tags, and then Hank Williams walks in here and you might tag him with 4 different tags.
Right.
So a tag is not static. You can have multiple tags per person.
Right.
Okay.
And I've tagged myself multiple ways,
Right.
but I want to add tag categories. How do I
Right.
do that?
Well,
'Cause I didn't see
you want
that.
to add a tag or,
Right.
well, all
Like
right.
I want
I
to, for
can't-
example, I want to say Grandparents' Day is coming up. I want to know who's grandparent, so
Okay.
that next year I can filter out grandparents.
Okay, so let me answer your question by saying that we got to go off in the weeds for a second.
Oh.
And we go up here to the top right corner where it says settings. You can do a lot of stuff in settings. So I would suggest to you right
Oh, that's
now
parking lot thing.
that we put that in the parking lot.
Okay.
Okay? But yes, now, and here's another little trick. So you understand the concept of tagging Pete, right? You also have the ability to tag opportunities. 2 totally different buckets. Okay? So if you were to tag an opportunity that you wanted to say, you know, I close 70 transactions a year, it sure would be cool if I could segment my transactions out by East Cobb, Dunwoody,
Yeah.
elderly, new home buyer, right? So those would be tags that would have nothing to do with a contact,
Right.
right? So when you go up into the settings we were just talking about, you can have settings for opportunities and you can have settings for people. And they're 2 totally different buckets. Why they call them both tags, I don't know. Okay, so everybody at least has one person in here, right? All right. So now all of these icons that are down here on the left-hand side, if you hover over them, you see the one that's underneath the people? What does it say when you hover over it?
Tasks.
All right, what's underneath that?
Smart plan.
Okay, what's underneath that? Okay, so you get the idea that you can go down and there's something on each one of those icons. And every single one of those icons is a training class in itself. Okay? So there's no way in the next 4 minutes that we have any way of talking through all of this. Okay? So every single one of those icons is a different class that does different stuff. And just like Microsoft Office has Word and Excel and PowerPoint, today we're just talking about Microsoft Office. Tomorrow we might talk about Excel, and the next day we might talk about PowerPoint. Today we're talking about command. You understand the concept of a contact and a lead, and an opportunity and a life cycle, right? Okay, so that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot to digest. Okay, let me show you, since if you want to play around. Now, I would not suggest, with what we've talked about today, that you go and connect command to E-Edge or your contacts or anything. I would not suggest doing that today, because I think you're dangerous enough to shoot yourself today. I would say manually go in there and create some more contacts. Okay? And then the next time we get together, we'll get a little bit deeper. But one of the things that's ultimately going to happen is we're going to have to do an opportunity in order to do what we used to call a green sheet, right? So if I'm on the far left-hand side over here and I scroll all the way down to the handshake, you see the handshake? Left click one time. Now, your screen will look different than my screen. But notice in this first box it says listings, and I roll my scroll wheel down and it says buyers, and I roll my scroll wheel down and it says leases. There are 3 types of opportunities. What are they?
Listings, buyers.
Bingo, right here. Okay, question.
Does that mean we're now going to be able to do leases? Because we've been asked not to.
I can't
I
answer
didn't know
that
that.
question.
What was the question?
Leases, we're not supposed to, we
Okay.
aren't supposed to manage leases.
That's above my pay scale.
Okay,
I can't answer that one.
all
But
right,
I think there's a difference between
But-
managing it and representing the listing.
okay.
So now,
That's-
so now look, because I don't want to keep you guys too much longer because I know we're about to run out of time. Now look at my listing opportunity. All right, so I am in the opportunities module. Remember the spider diagram? There's a bunch of modules. We have the marketing module, document management module, leads and contacts module, and opportunities module. We're in the opportunities module because I'm over here in the handshake. And underneath the opportunities, we've got listing, buyers, and leases. Now, I said, all right, here is my listing module. And remember, we had stages and phases. Remember, I cannot, it's hard-coded, cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. Look at your cheat sheet, and it kind of matches up. Now, underneath cultivate, I have 3 deals that I'm cultivating right now. If I click on my little flower over here, I left click one time on my flower, and I'm going to make my screen a lot smaller. I don't expect you to read it, but notice that, oh, remember that piece of paper that I gave you a while ago? I said the deal is a possibility. I'm nurturing, and the deal is getting hot. It kind of looks like that piece of paper that I gave you, right? Now, this particular deal right here, this Inglis at 123 Main Street in Dunwoody, is an opportunity that's in the cultivate phase. If I want to know more about it, I simply left click one time, and now also I have another one down here. And if I do all the stuff, I can drag it, left click, and drag it over here to the nurture stage. Okay, that's kind of cool. I go, I really didn't do everything. I probably should put it back over here where it goes. But if I left click one time, now, when this ever comes up, anybody know a good joke?
Oh, God. Why?
So, there was a lawyer and the Pope.
It's kind of like our Mac.
Okay. All right, so 123 Main Street in Dunwoody. And let me make this screen a little bit bigger. All right, also, we can click up here in the top left where it says sales pipeline, and it'll go backwards from whence we came. Okay? But
Go backwards to the screen that we were on before.
that's correct. That's correct. Or you can come up here to the very top and backwards that way also. But notice that here's everything that you ever wanted to know about this particular deal. We talked about, when do you create an opportunity? Whenever you think there's a deal. So some people don't ever create an opportunity until they close, because they know that's the only way they're going to get paid. Some people that want to use this software would create an opportunity. I think there's a deal here. So you create an opportunity. and then you go through all the stages and all the phases, and when you come out the other end, you'll have all this information that you ever wanted to know about this deal. You don't have to use command, but you're going to have to use command to create at least one opportunity so that you can get paid. And that's where you fill in all this other information. Now, for documents, every one of these tabs up here at the top says documents, and here's where you put in all your documents, all right? We're over time, so I can't explain this to you. Here are the offers. This is how you're going to create an offer. You're going to accept the offer. And when you put in that information, that's not only is that how you're going to explain to your client that, hey, we got multiple offers and let me show you how they all compare, but it's also how when you accept the offer, all of that information that you put in there is going to go to the MCA. All the commission information is in there, and that's how you'll get paid. It's actually pretty slick, okay? But we're out of time today, so we'll get a little deeper here. Question on your face?
Where do I put my contract when I'm under contract? How do I start that? Because I don't.
Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to create. You mean when you're under contract?
How do you start it? I don't see details, document, and offer.
Okay, let's go. You see in the top left corner where it says sales pipeline? You see my screen? Right up here?
Yeah.
I'm going to click one time. So now I'm back to my listings, buyers, right? All right. If I wanted to see all the deals that I've put in here so far, I could create an top right corner. I could create a new opportunity.
Okay, that's it.
Right? So you create a new opportunity. And once you create the new opportunity, then they're all going to show up in whichever bucket you have drugged them into.
Gotcha.
Okay? That makes sense, Nancy? Kind of, sort of?
I'm thinking about another question that I want to ask you.
Okay, hit me.
You talked about what I'm calling the green sheet.
Yep.
And you said this is where you put all your offers. Will that spit out multiple offers that you can show in your clients?
Yep.
As opposed to Excel creating your own sheet?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's another class.
Well, that's what I used to do, right? If I had multiple offers, I'd put them in an Excel spreadsheet and formatted and all that kind of stuff.
Here's the difference.
And it looked nice. It was very, when you walked in front of your client and said, let me show you why these are, how they stack up. Well, now with the opportunities, when you come in and you have multiple offers, it'll build that spreadsheet for you, and then you present it to your client.
And when you say present it, do you have to literally pull it out and send it to them, or?
Well, were it me, I would print it out and take it to them.
Yeah.
Right. But you could Zoom if you wanted to, but But it shows it all.
But they can see a screen, or
yes.
okay.
Yeah. It's pretty slick. Pretty slick.
Good.
Okay. All right. So you're not going to screw anything up with what you've learned today. Every one of these offers that you're looking at that I have, all these opportunities, are fake. Now, I took some old deals.
You mean Barney Rubble is not real?
Well, he's a friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
He's one of the best actors I know. But, so go in there and play with this and start messing around with it. Okay? There are also a ton of videos out there on the KW website. You don't need to wait for me to say this is how you do it. Okay? If you want to jump into this, don't wait on me, because I'm teaching this class again tomorrow, and it's going to be the same class that you just sat in. So were you to come tomorrow, you're going to hear everything all over again. It's not anything new tomorrow.
And to get to all of those classes on YouTube, do you have to input your information?
No.
It's just regular YouTube?
Yeah, just regular YouTube.
So we're teaching Coldwell Banker?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If Coldwell Banker had KW command, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, was this helpful?
Yes.
Okay, good. If I could do something differently to help the next class, what would you suggest I do?
I would spend more time in here.
in it? Okay.
Yeah. Is
Okay.
the next class more, you know how they're having another class on Wednesday?
Next Wednesday?
Is it like more about using it?
Well, that's why we're having the class today and tomorrow, is to figure out how far we can get in 2 hours, because at least my brain kind of explodes after 2 hours. And as you can see here, there's a lot to command, right? We're talking days and days of different stuff over a prolonged period of time. So we're trying to figure out how much can we get across in 2 hours. Now, what my goal today was, anybody who wants to have a conversation with anybody in this room to talk about leads and contacts can have that conversation. Anybody wants to talk about an opportunity can have that conversation. So anytime in the future, if we sit down and talk about any module and we talk about an opportunity or a contact or a lead, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And you also understand that you can come in here and create any phase that you want to create, any stage that you want to create, right? So that's really what I'm trying to do. So to answer your question, what are we going to do next Wednesday? I don't know yet. Now, if we did it next Wednesday, would you guys show up, or would there be other people? Because let's just say that we say next Wednesday we're going to jump in a little deeper. Well, when you guys walk in here, we hit the ground running, right? But if Phil Ford back here walks in on the very first day and doesn't know how to log into the Wi-Fi, we got a problem, right? So it's almost like the cohorts we were talking about a while ago. This is your class. This is kind of like, your Ignite class. Now we go to the next one, and we go to the next one, and we go to the next one. And that's why I'm saying you don't necessarily need to wait for me to do this. There are tons of videos out there that help you on all of this stuff. And everybody has their own opinion about, what are the steps that we talked about, and I gave you that piece of paper. Those are just my steps. Your steps are going to be totally different. If you watch some video on YouTube, they're going to be totally different. But at least you know that. So, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you make a note about the tags, or just make sure?
What was the question?
I asked about tags, like how to do custom tags. You said you're going to collect this too.
Yeah. Why don't I?
Custom topics for future classes.
Yeah, I can show you.
Okay.
I go up here to settings. And it comes up over here on the left-hand side. Excuse me. See where it says command settings? And it says custom tags.
Okay.
Now, when you come down here to custom, not only can you create a custom tag in the top right corner, but one of the things, if I show you how to create a custom tag, tomorrow you're going to say, how do you turn that thing orange? All right, so I came over here to settings, and then over here on settings, I scroll down to custom tags,
Right.
and then in the top right corner, I created a new tag. All right, when I created a new tag, I called it whatever I wanted to call it, and I made it chartreuse or some other designer color. And that's how you create any tag you want, and you make it any color you want.
Okay.
Make sense? Okay, good.
Now, are you going to talk about importing from other sources? at some
We
point?
will, but that's going to be a totally different class. I mean, that we could literally talk for 2 hours about importing.
'Cause I spent a lot of time when I just finished Ignite in May. I spent a lot of time putting
You're
stuff
welcome.
into another database.
All right. I don't know if anybody else wants to watch this or not, so I'll just leave it going for the time being.
Is there a
Hey,
video?
They should tell us, or I'm thinking, if we're going to be using this, how they want things named. Because I just uploaded some, how do they want it named? Like, I'm doing a under contract to see what,
Right.
run through it. Well, I had to create a folder. What does the office want the folder? To put your binding
Well,
contract?
it kind of doesn't matter because,
Doesn't Lynn have to go in and look at our contracts?
are you talking about DocuSign or what are you
I'm
talking?
talking about broker review.
Well, when you create an opportunity, you'll link the respective documents to the opportunity. And so on the back end, they're basically looking at command, and it has the link. So if you uploaded it from RDocs, that's totally different than if somebody else uploaded it from .loop and somebody else totally uploaded it from DocuSign, right? But because it's linked into the opportunity, Lynn can take a look at it irrespective from whence it came. Does that make sense?
No,
Okay.
because I don't know how she's going to know what this is.
I don't think that they have sat down and said, here's the stone tablet from the mountain.
I mean, she's.
Call her.
Okay.
Call her. I think that's a valid question. So,
I
But
mean, I know
now I
how
will say
dot,
this.
I know how .loop works, and I know how RDocs works when
but you
you're
also
reviewing and
know
looking
that,
at it.
that
This is one big file, in versus what I do, you know, like, well, look, here.
well, now I can tell you this, that how you were
guess she'll just
supposed
go
to
in
do
there
it in
and go for it.
.loop, of the 20 people that I've seen that use .loop, not more than about 3 of them use the same syntax for naming.
Right, but my point is, there's a folder. It's not just names, it's a folder. So I could have
That's
6
correct.
folders in here, and so she's gonna have to open every 6. all
No,
of them.
because you're going to have the documents over here that are
Only-
linking.
With that folder. So from every time I put a document in, I may put it in a different folder, which means she's gonna have to, if I have 6 amendments, I could have folder amendment 1, folder amendment 2. She's gonna have to go through and open every folder.
She's going to open them over here. Okay.
Isn't this the folder?
Well, you can create as many folders as you want to.
My point is that she's gonna have to open every folder. It looks like it. This one's open because that's the folder I have.
And ultimately, what's going to happen is, unless you don't,
But I know what you're saying, if they can all be,
their interface
if she can
is going
see
to-
them
Yes.
like that, that's fine.
Yes.
Otherwise, I could have a million folders in there.
I'm a folder guy. I mean, every
So-
offer is a different folder for me, right?
Well, every offer, but within your offer, how many folders do you have?
Yeah.
And I have several I can have a lot of folders, and I may only have 1.
Yeah.
It depends how I
Right.
manage
But
that.
that's the way you did it in .loop also, right?
That's true. I only made 1 giant folder, but you okay.
You could. I mean, I was
Right, I
a folder
could've.
guy in .loop.
And she could have, you're right.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's your problem. Got it.
All right, that's the end of the stream. Hope everybody was helpful.
Yeah, it was very good.